Hi, my name is Isabella Pratt, and this is all you need to know about coffee. Here is my lovely audience. Alrighty, thank y'all. So to start this off, I'm sure all of y'all have heard the saying, coffee makes you live longer. Now, I'm not entirely sure how scientifically accurate that is, but I personally do believe in that statement. In fact, about 2.25 billion people drink, 2.25 billion cups of coffee are consumed each day worldwide, according to PBS.org, which is a really significant number. But are we really that surprised? So we're actually going to be diving more into this. We're actually going to be talking about the history of coffee, the prevalence it has in America, as well as the different preferences of drinking coffee around the world. So I'm sure we're able to imagine a time whenever we're just drinking a cup of coffee on a cold fall morning. We're just smelling the aroma and we're taking in the taste of it, and we're just simply enjoying that really peaceful time when we don't have any responsibilities and we're able to just have our morning cup of joe. Now, we've actually been able to enjoy this type of time in this beautiful, amazing cup of coffee since about the 15th century, whenever it was discovered in the Arabian Peninsula. It wasn't until about the 16th century whenever it moved on to places like Egypt and Syria and Turkey. And since then, it's been really prevalent in those areas. It's been the choice of drink, and it's really common to have it in social events since then. So when you're playing board games with your neighbors or just catching up with your friends, it was the choice of preference to drink that. So it didn't catch speed until about the 17th century in Europe, but it had a lot of controversy with whether people actually liked it or not. You know, those tincture drinkers over there. So it wasn't until Pope Clement VIII actually announced that he really enjoyed the drink and really liked having it. So that is when people started having it more daily, and coffee shops really became a prevalent social gathering. So that is where people would just have performances, or they would just talk, and of course they would just enjoy their cup of coffee there. And then soon after that, around the 1650s is when it came into the New World. And so again, it wasn't really prevalent back then until about 1773, which, if you remember from your history textbooks, that is when the Boston Tea Party happened due to the tea tax. And so after that happened, coffee became the choice of drink, and that is when, I personally think history was changed, because we now have this amazing cup of coffee that is so popular today. So as I said before, coffee is really pronounced in the Americas. In fact, if you don't have some kind of relationship to it, it's kind of like weird, So it wasn't until about 1860 when the brands that we know and love today really started having stepping stones towards them. So first off, we had Charles Arbuckle and his brother, who started selling roasted coffee by the pound. And then soon after that, we had James Folger, who would sell coffee to the gold miners during the gold rush in California, which is really awesome. And then after that, soon after, again, the brand started emerging of Maxwell House and Hills Brothers that we still drink today, which is so awesome. And I personally do enjoy both brands today. And I know you've been waiting for this since the beginning of this speech, but Starbucks, we love it. Maybe we hate it. I personally love it. And our dear guest over here actually works at a Starbucks, so she absolutely loves it. So Starbucks didn't open until 1971 in Seattle, Washington, and it's been some people's daily, pick-me-up ever since, which is really awesome, and it's so great that we get to enjoy it here today. Now, to even give you more of a visual of how much coffee influences our culture here in America, approximately 64% of adult Americans say that they drink coffee on the daily, according to creditdonkey.com, which is a really prevalent number. But to even give you more of a visual, that approximately, again, from the same source, approximately 100 billion cups of coffee are consumed annually in the Americas. And that is a little under 300 million cups consumed daily. Now, I know that's a really crazy number, but are we really that surprised? Yes, we're that surprised, Lindsay. Thank you. So moving on, again, we talked about how there's different kinds of coffee and the coffees around the world. So we're actually going to dive more into the actual preferences that people have of it. So we're going to start off with the place where it originated in Ethiopia. Now, surprisingly, they still prefer to drink it as they did 1,000 years ago. So they did the whole grinding, and they do the roasting, and they do the boiling of the beans. And this can be an hour-long process, but it's so worth it whenever you get that perfect cup of joe in the end. And then comes other places where they start adding really, sweet additives, or like even like little spices and stuff. And we can see that really prevalent in Ireland nowadays. Now, once you add the whiskey and the sugar and the whipped cream, it honestly isn't your morning cup of joe anymore. It's more of a dessert, which actually it's more typical to have that type of drink after you have dinner. So it's a dessert drink, if you will, which I think is pretty fun and pretty innovative. Now, again, coffee, I said, is really important in the Americas, and there's about 2 different spectrums that you can observe like anywhere in the Americas. So you either have your people who have milk, cream, and sugar and whipped cream with a little bit of coffee, and then you have your people who like just, plain black coffee. But it just shows that there's so many different options, and there is a cup of coffee that's perfect for everybody. So to wrap things up, we've kind of discussed the history of coffee, the prevalence we have in America with it, as well as the different preferences people have around the world. And I'm pretty sure we're like experts now, so we can all perfect our cups of joes after learning about the different kinds we have and the great amounts of joy that it brings us. Thank you so much. And here is my audience once again. Awesome, thank y'all, and thank you.